You do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Well, howdy, people. Hope you are well. Busy times, busy times, busy times. If you're in your part of the world, as anywhere near my part of the world, you've suffered some interesting storm damage in the last few days. Trees down, hail, all sorts of weird things. Anyway, we'll talk about that a little later on tonight. First of all, our guest. Now, she's no stranger to the Voice of Freedom. And, well, we haven't seen a lot of her recently unless she's been on her Facebook pages, and it seems in rather exotic locations. But trust me, she tells me she's been very, very busy. So let's find out what Cass Smith has been up to and what's going on in regards to protecting our wealth at this time of year where there seems to be a lot of threats to it. G'day, Cass. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Well, concerned about what's going on with everything in the economy at the moment. Gold's up, silver's up, gold's down, silver's down. The government seems to be trying to take more office than ever before, and they're finding new and interesting ways to do it.
Yes, absolutely. And I just heard what you said earlier, Carl. Yes, I've been very, very busy. I've been traveling a lot, but it hasn't been holidays, unfortunately. I was doing a lot of learning in Bali, and that was more personal growth learning, learning new skills in NLP and hypnosis and a whole lot of other coaching skills. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but they'll come in handy one day. But then I also went off to Fiji to do a very, very advanced tax planning, asset protection, estate planning conference, which I really didn't want to do. I got dragged kicking and screaming. You know, who wants to go to Fiji and sit inside a conference room 24/7? Oh, not 24/7, but all day, every day for 5 days in a row. But they did have all you could eat breakfast, all you could eat lunch, all you could eat dinner, plus all you could eat morning tea and afternoon tea. And
wow.
And all you could drink beer, wine, and cocktails. So I put on 5 kilos and came back an absolute sugar-fried mess. But I think there was a strategy behind it, you know, to make us sit in a room and listen to advanced, complicated tax strategies. I guess they needed to pump us full of sugar so that we could maintain our concentration.
True that. Yes. Not a yoga mat in sight. That surprises me.
No, not a yoga mat in sight. But I'm very, very glad I went to Fiji because it was an absolute game changer. And that's why I've been flat out since the moment I hit Australian shores. I have been booked back to back every minute of every day. And yeah, my yoga is suffering, my gym is suffering. But so I've effectively had to come back out of retirement because what I learnt over in Fiji, as much as I want to retire and sit on a beach, I am needed in the front line to help people prepare.
So it's sounding concerning to begin with. So my recollection, trying to match a time frame here, is that the Treasurer came out and said, oh, don't worry about those people with super over $3 million. We're going to be a little less harsh on them than we originally said. And then from there, it sort of all got lost in the noise. I gather there's a lot more to it.
Exactly. And yeah, it was just so interesting that announcement came out while we were in Fiji. So I was sitting in a room with, I think, probably about 50 or 60 other very high level advanced tax accountants and tax lawyers who have been experienced in these issues for decades. And we were being taught by Grant Abbott, who is, I believe, Australia's best lawyer involved in asset protection strategies. And when that Division 96 announcement came out, I mean, literally everyone on their computers went, oh, hang on, let's look at this. And then we actually dedicated the afternoon to dissecting that announcement. So you had 60 top-level accountants and lawyers dissecting what that statement actually meant. And we all just went red flags. red
Wow.
flags. And
So-
then the interesting part about it was the strategy we were learning in Fiji absolutely, totally overcomes the tax problems that we see coming in the near future for Australia. So that's when I got excited, and I gave my own podcast last Wednesday, and I got quite excited. It's not often an accountant gets excited about strategies. I came back absolutely, and that's why I've come back out of retirement. I wouldn't do it if I hated this work. It excites me enough that we can help Australian families overcome the government taxes. That excites me. So I came back rev to go, and have been ever since.
Well, I remember when we first started talking about this, impost that the Labor government was going to put on people with superannuation over $3 million. And you basically at the time said, oh, look, how many people do you know with more than $3 million in their super account? But these changes, for you to have this reaction, I gather, must now affect those of us with a lot less than $3 million in the super account.
It affects everyone that's got property, everyone that's got any wealth. So what it did, the announcement itself was great. It was, we're not going to tax unrealised gains anymore. Aren't we wonderful? I mean, the taxing of unrealised gains was just absolute problematic from the start. Right from when they announced it, and I've been on your show, Carl, and I've said on other podcasts, when people are carrying on about, oh, how do we plan for this $3 million tax? And yeah, I said, look, if you've got $3 million in your super account, you're doing pretty well. Maybe you should pay a little bit of tax. But if you don't want to, when they finally do announce it, we'll then look at strategies, because at the moment there's nothing you can do to prevent it, right? So that was my advice about it was called Division 296. I'm like, well, look, it's only affecting those with over 3 million. There's nothing we can plan for it under the actual detail. And I was also saying, I doubt it will get through. They've been trying to get it through for, I think, about 3 years. And what they were trying to do is, the first time in the history of Australia, maybe the history of the world, tax again before it actually happened. So if your gold has gone up 200,000 in the year, under the current laws, you don't pay tax on it. Under these new laws, you would have tax on that $200,000 gain, even though you haven't sold the gold. So what that would then mean is you would have to sell the gold to pay the tax. Okay, now apply that to the number one most expensive, valuable asset in Australia in self-managed superannuation funds is the family farm. Yeah. So now let's put that example to the family farm. That family farm goes up in value by $500,000. It happens easily in Australia. You have a 30% tax on it. So you now have I can't do the maths straight away, $200,000 tax bill in your super fund. Wow. How are you going to pay that without selling the family farm? So the rules could not have been, it was just impossible. And that's why I wasn't too worried about the Division 296, because I'm like, I can't do that. It's just not going to work.
Yeah.
So fast forward to where we are now. Announced that, yes, we're not going to tax unrealised gains. Aren't we wonderful? They also littered all their press releases with 30% tax on super funds over 3 million, 40% tax on super funds over 10 million. That's the first time we've seen a 40% tax bracket announced in Australia. And even the 30% tax bracket, it's not actually a 30% tax bracket, because super funds over 1.6 million are already taxed at 15%. So 30%, it's not, they should have said an increase of 15% to 30%. But no, they just announced it as a flat 30% and a flat 40%. Where our ears started pricking, red flag started flying, is that in the UK, their wealth taxes are 30% and 40%.
Right, okay.
What they also said in all their announcement was, oh, well, the unrealised gains tax was going to bring us in, I can't remember the exact figures, maybe 6 billion a year, this new announcement's only going to bring us in, 20 million. There's a really big shortfall in our budget now that we're going to have to try and, find something else.
Is that part the problem that we're having at the moment, that the Labor government has already spent the money it has forecast in the budget before it's got the money actually in its coffers?
Yeah, I can't 100% attest to that because I don't know, but certainly I have heard that. Not that they've already spent it, but they've forecast, they've already allocated it to certain projects. So if they don't get that money, they'll have to cancel those projects. But so if on one hand they're saying for the first time in Australia 40% tax, on the other hand they're saying, oh, we've got a budget shortfall now, we're going to have to find some more taxes. And there has been economic forums that have been meeting and discussing and putting proposals to the government that what we really need in Australia is a death tax. And in the UK, the death tax is 40%. And we all know what the government does. They start throwing out little things, pre-programmers to go, so that when the 40% wealth tax and death tax gets announced, we're not as shocked because we've already been pre-programmed with the fact that the 40% tax bracket and that there's a budget deficit and that it's only fair that the wealthy pay more tax and on. And then they announce a death tax at 40%.
Well, death taxes are nothing new to Australia. Didn't we have them back in the day?
I'm not sure if we had them back in the day, but we definitely don't have one now. And we've never had one in all my years of operating, which is 30 years. No, we don't currently have a death tax. And why should we have a death tax? Why should you lose 40% of your wealth just because you die? And
donate it to the state, which is essentially what you're doing.
Yeah, donate it to the state instead of giving all your hard-earned work to your children. So then,
if that wealth was tied up in a family trust, as you say, in a farm, would 40% of the farm need to be realised to satisfy the death tax interest in the property?
No, and that's where the importance of the trusts, and this is where we're leading to, and why I'm so excited and why I've been so busy, is that death tax will be on you as a person when you die.
Right.
So now all of a sudden, there's a big need for all assets to go into trusts.
Of course.
Okay, and then we put another few pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together, and this is why I got so excited, because there's been pieces of jigsaw puzzles just sitting out to the side that I didn't know what to do with, and it all fell into place in Fiji. Maybe it was the kava. So you've also heard me say, Carl, that there's been other people in the freedom movement promoting moving all your assets into private trusts. And they were promoting that people move their family home into a private trust. And I have been very, very, very vocal criticising those people, saying they don't know what they're talking about. That is very, very dangerous. These people should be sued. Because people have done it. They've moved their family home into the family trust, and they have paid. I had one client paid $350,000 in stamp duty to move his million dollar property. Okay, so stamp duty's payable. Then there's land tax payable every year after that, because it's now not a family home; it's in the trust. And then you lose your capital gains tax exemption, so when you sell it later down the track, you're up for hundreds of thousands in tax. So those people that were promoting the private trusts and move all your home, I was saying those people should be sued. Okay, so then I had all these pieces of the puzzle going, well, I know trusts are great for asset protection, so I did my master's degree in trust 20 odd years ago, and I wrote my thesis on trusts, and they are a fantastic vehicle, but not for your family home because of all those taxes. So there's all these little pieces that weren't fitting together. What we're over in Fiji learning is a very, very advanced protection strategy using trusts where you can move the equity in your family home into this trust with no stamp duty, no land tax, and you still keep your capital gains tax exemption.
Okay.
So every problem I had with the trusts, with people using trusts, has been solved. And now we have an absolute need for these trusts because there's a 40% death tax coming down the line.
Okay. What about for people who might hold a house in an SMSF? That's also another trust.
That can just stay where it is. It's the personal assets we need to shift. So your own home, your investment properties, it can even be your gold and silver, your crypto, any assets you hold in your personal name can go to this protective trust. People may have heard, if they've been researching trusts, in America there's such a thing called a living trust. And it sounds great. And I read the book on living trusts before I went to Fiji, because all that's really, really great, but that's America, and that's not what happens over here. So, but this protective trust that we now have access to is a combination of an original trust that I've always used, a living trust, and protects against these taxes. So the whole idea, to put it really simple for those that are sitting there going, I have no idea what she's talking about. A living trust is we set it up a trust now, we move all of your assets into it while you're still alive. Then there's no death taxes, because when you die, those assets don't go anywhere. They stay in the trust. They get handed to your beneficiaries. They stay in your bloodline. So Grant Abbott, who founded all of this, talks a lot about the royal family. Don't we love them? But their asset protection strategy is basically what we're talking about, where all of their assets, their trillions of dollars, just stays in the bloodline of the king and the queen and their family. And this is what these trusts are. We put all of your assets into this bloodline trust. It's for your bloodline only. When you die, it just passes on to your bloodline. It also has millions of other benefits. There's people can't come after your assets. People can't sue you. You don't have any assets because they've all been moved to trust. Future relationships are foolproof. Future relationships where you have a partner and they've got kids, and then you die, those kids can't get your assets. It's your bloodline only, forever more, and no tax man.
And no tax man. That's going to be really important. All right. Is it expensive to set up?
Incredibly expensive. I make no bones about it, because I have not got the time. I'm literally booked minute to minute, because I don't have the time to talk to people who don't want to do this because they don't have the money. That's fine. Don't do it. Because my number one question that I ask people is, how important is it that your wealth stays in your bloodline? And how important is it to you that your wealth doesn't go to the GovCo or the taxman? And if people say, oh, it's not important, I don't care, anyone can have my wealth, taxman can have my wealth, I don't care. Okay, then don't pay this money for the strategy. But if it's really important to people to protect their assets for their bloodline and against the taxman, this strategy, so I've already been presenting strategy papers since I got back, and everyone I've presented to so far has said, hell yes.
Yeah, right.
For a very, very exorbitant fee. But when I put that fee as a percentage of their assets or as a percentage of their future tax saving, it's less than 0.5%.
Yeah, wow.
It's money, it's money, it's painful money to spend, but when you put it in the percentage of what it's going to save you. And I also liken asset protection strategies to insurance policies. People who own a house, I mean, God, insurance, $6,000 a year in insurance to protect a house.
Yeah.
But people pay it because the house maybe is worth $1 million or $2 million, and if it burns down, they don't want to be out of pocket $1 million or $2 million. So the fees for this trust, they're expensive, they're one-off, done and dusted, protects your family till you die and for generations to come. So to me, it's just an insurance policy. But for the average couple, let's say average couple, one home, the whole protection strategy will be around $10,000. I do then also recommend other things like a will and estate plan and enduring power of attorney and other things that they can also choose to get all done at the same time. But so, and if someone today, today was someone had a huge portfolio, and it's going to cost them 4 times what I just said. But
Yeah,
they
but
still want.
there's a lot that has to be managed into it, which it's not just a matter of printing out the paper and signing at the bottom, is it? I guess it's this has to be structured in such a way that it needs to be, like you say, completely foolproof going into the future, like not 5 or 10 years, but 50 or 100 years.
Yeah, 300 years, generations to come. And it has been tested in court. There's a court case, I believe it's Caldwell and Caldwell, don't quote me on that, but I think that was it, where this exact thing had happened. The assets had passed to the next generation, significant assets. The son got married, and then a few years later, the wife tried to claim against the assets. It went all the way to court, family court. Family court normally have extreme jurisdiction to look through trusts, throw them out, and take the assets. Nope, family court upheld it and said, nope, this is a bloodline trust. The son is bloodline, the wife is not. The wife can't touch it. So,
well, that's certainly going to be of interest to many people, I'm pretty sure, particularly if they are of a certain wealth level, where asset protection and protecting the wealth for further generations is paramount into what they do.
yeah, absolutely. So it's got those benefits. Also, lawsuits, if people come after you, try to get your assets. You don't have any assets. They're all in a trust. The benefits are just absolutely enormous. As I said, the thing that always held me back about the trust was the stamp duty, land tax, and capital gains, but we've solved that. So it's, I mean, I got people, I know I get really excited about really weird things, but I've been excited about two things my whole life, very sad life I've got. One was self-managed super funds. Since 1999, I was like, oh my God, these things are amazing. And I've been doing self-managed super funds since 1999. The other thing I got really excited about as a young junior in university was testamentary trusts, which is basically when you die, all the money goes into a testamentary trust and is protected forevermore. This is now the third thing I'm excited about, because these trusts are basically a testamentary trust whilst you're still alive.
Right.
And have got all the tax benefits and none of the negative consequences. So yeah, I came home. Absolutely. I'm not even sleeping. I'm so excited. As you might have seen, didn't I text you this morning at 5 o'clock? Since when have I been awake at 5 o'clock?
Yeah. No, well, you're right. It's been a while. So, if people want to learn more about it, obviously booking in with you is one way to do it, but you're flat out, so that could take a while. There are other people, other parts of the Freedom Financial Solutions team. I imagine you've got a whole group of you on it. I know you weren't there by yourself from the team.
Yep. No, well, that's probably another thing that people are actually liking about this strategy. It is me. I am the only one.
Great.
So it is one-on-one with me, and been a one-on-one client with me. And for people who have dealt with Freedom Financial, I'm normally just in the background, not doing much because I've tried to retire. But no, I'm back on the front line. These appointments will be with me, and that's why I'm so flat out.
Go.
But the best
MJ might be involved with it too. She
just
went for the carver, then I gather.
Yes. No, she went to sit there and look at me and go, Cass, you're going to do this, aren't you? Yeah, so no, Mary Jane will continue to do the self-managed super fund side of the business. This side I will need to do. The best way to find out about it is tomorrow night if you go to our website, which Carl can put the link in for our website. Tomorrow night on a Teams meeting, you can log in and I present the whole strategy in a PowerPoint. It's very complicated, so I need PowerPoints and all that sort of things to show them. And if you miss that, shoot us an email and we can send you a link. It will also be on our YouTube channel, which you'll find through our website. There's a replay of last week's where I presented it. Tomorrow night's will be even better because it'll be my second time presenting it. But either which way, the information is readily there. I do really request you look at the video, either live when we do it tomorrow night or the replay before booking in with me, because my appointments are 15 minutes only. And I'm not going to be able to explain it to you properly in a 15-minute session. But if you watch the video, then you can have a 15-minute session where you just fire me your questions. That's a much more effective use of everyone's time. And then what I do for people is it's so complicated. I really need to do an individual strategy for every single person. So
yes, because everybody has a different asset list, or
yeah.
stuff they need protected at different values.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I'm the only one that can do it, because it's bringing in knowledge of trusts, of capital gains, of stamp duty, of land tax, of transferring assets, of mortgages, of everything. Everything I've done for 30 years is all sort of into this one product. So
Sure.
I'm the only one who can do it. So I offer a strategy paper. You pay $550 for it, and I do a strategy tailored specifically to your circumstances. And then I present that to you in a 20-page document and a PowerPoint presentation, all for $550. And then that $550 will come off the quote for what we do. So I will say, I recommend you do all of this, and this is how much it will cost, and I take the $550 off that cost. The reason I charge it is because there's no way I can do all these strategy papers for everybody. I need to do them for those that are really definitely going to proceed with some of the recommendations. And even if people only proceed with the will with testamentary trust, which everyone should have, the $550 will even just come off that. So you're not losing anything by the $550, you're just committing to doing something with us.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Freedom Financial Solutions, freedomffs.com.au. I'll put the links up in the description below. And Cass, thank you very much. While you are extremely busy, it's good to have you back in the country.
Yes, and just a bit of a joke aside, I did put on my Facebook this morning, Melbourne introduced a pet tax.
Oh, no, really?
So this is where we're coming. They are taxing, and I joked around saying next thing they're going to tax us if you shit twice a day.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So this is the importance of what we're doing, is that they are going to grab everything they can. I mean, the pet taxes, it's only, if you read, it was a bit of a headline, but you read the article, it was only like an increase of $9 or something, but it doesn't matter. They're coming after everything they can to get off everybody. And pets, I mean, they know that pets are such an important part of people's lives. Why make it even more difficult for people to have a beautiful companion animal to keep company? It's sickening.
Well, we've had animal registrations for so long, but they can stretch that out. Maybe they're going to make you register your budgie these days.
Yeah, so or what about if your pet? Well, actually, yeah, I just argue. Well, my dog, he doesn't identify as a pet. He identifies as my best buddy.
Absolutely. He doesn't know he's not human.
No, he's not a dog. But yeah, they're coming at us every way we can. So, let's work together to try and protect each other so that they can get at least as possible.
And speaking of your best buddy, how's his mouth?
He's good. I think he's okay now. I've been a bit worried about him because they said it could cause long-term pockets of. For those that don't know, a stick went straight down his throat and punctured the back of his throat. It's very, very scary. We thought we were going to lose him, but he's a strong, tough dog, and he's doing well now. He's even more sooky than Lala than ever, and he's become even more obsessed with protecting me. He shadows me everywhere I go, and he's getting very protective. So, which is good.
Good boy. All right. Good luck. freedomffs.com.au, and don't forget, tomorrow night you can go to that website and book in for the show that'll be live tomorrow night with Cass if you want to hear about that strategy. Thanks for your time tonight.
No worries. Good luck with everything. See ya.
Thank you. And don't forget, folks, if you want, you can come on a cruise. Check this out. Write down the details and give Annette a call. She is a truly lovely lady, and you can also do it direct from a travel agent if you so desire. How simple would that be? If you want to pay cash, most travel agents take cash, so take the cash there. You can pay a deposit or you can pay the whole thing up front. But I forgot myself now. Put myself back up. But you'll pay anywhere between a little over $1,200 for an inside room to a little over $1,400 for a suite, which sounds really nice, I'm sure. Interesting chat with Cass, and certainly looking at the bloodline trust idea. If you're looking at generational wealth and being able to protect wealth that isn't going to be eroded by bad marriage decisions or that sort of thing, then this could certainly be a good option for you. So go and check that out, freedomffs.com.au. Some changes coming up to the political scenes in Australia. We'll talk about that shortly. Also, it looks like there has been something of a I guess a false flag potentially that has been caught by Venezuela, funnily enough. And we'll talk about the ship. And I've got to say, what a weird looking little boat it is. There's also some interesting stuff that's come out of Antarctica. You know, we were talking about some of those frequency waves that were coming out of there. Well, yeah, there's a bit of that coming up. Don't forget, you can help us out here at Voice of Freedom, and more particularly at the Good Samaritan Donkey Sanctuary by buying a $2 ticket in our raffle. Now, ordinarily, we give away $750 and a bit of silver, but this time round, we're keeping the silver. We're giving away a gram of Ainsley minted gold bullion in the form of a little minted bar. Absolutely beautiful prize. Thank you, being donated by one of you or a couple of you. And we have brought the gold forward in the hope that we might be able to plough through these things a little bit faster and help the Donkey Sanctuary with a little more. And the Donkey Sanctuary, of course, always needing a little bit of help. They've picked up a few more mouths to feed this week. So we, on the other hand, just have bills to pay. And we're very grateful for any and all help you can give. The easiest way to do that is, like I say, a $2 ticket. And you can get that at merch.vofhq.com. And right there, /product/sanctuary-750. That'll take you straight to the lottery website. One Nation, Pauline Hanson's One Nation is, well, getting a bit of a rebrand. She is going to become nameless in the party, which I don't think is a bad thing. She's going to drop the Pauline Hanson, and One Nation will just become One Nation. That's her daughter, who's currently a sitting member in Tasmania. Now, there have been thoughts that the line of succession leads directly to her, but by the sounds of it, Pauline is now open to a lot more conversation about a long-term future for the party and those who wish to be part of it, partly, I guess, triggered by what's going on with Barnaby Joyce and a few more. Now, let's hope, and my fingers crossed beyond all hope. Not that I truly believe there is a political solution to this, but we've got to give it a go. Let's hope that Pauline, or more particularly, let's just call it One Nation now, can come together with conservative, or the conservative side of politics in this country and the various different arms thereof, to actually become a force to be reckoned with. The historically conservative side, the Nationals, the Liberals, are deserting their voter base. They're deceitful, they're liars, they've proven that they are not interested in their voter base at all, their core voter base, and that they speak with forked tongue from the corner of their mouth. For some reason or other, many farmers still seem to support the Nationals at varying levels, including the Farmers Welcome Back to Canberra for the Politicians they throw in, I think it's February every year. I think there are better things the farmers could be throwing for the politicians that would give them more impetus to actually do something. And I was speaking about that with Wade Nordhausen last week. I think it was about this time last week. Now, Wade's been back to Canberra again. He was there this week to interview a few more people and be seen on the streets. God love him. He's doing an awesome job. And the Billboard Battalion also posted a very interesting video about the cameras that are on the Hume Highway at various different points. Now, they're not just safety cameras. They're not just speeding cameras. They are, in fact, surveillance cameras. And, of course, with the various forms of tracking available to them now, they can track you and your vehicle pretty much anywhere you go on the roads of this country. under the guise of safety. There are those safety cam management systems, which for a long time were just limited to heavy vehicles. And we all sort of thought, oh, well, it's not a bad thing that the heavy vehicles get monitored for that sort of thing. But how many of you drove much longer distances than a heavy vehicle driver ever would, or probably should? And how many people do you know who've driven much shorter distances and wound up crashing the car, hurting themselves, hurting them others, or maybe even dying? Driving a car where there is no restrictions on how far you can drive. And I have used that particular law to my advantage, let's call it, in my younger days, to drive extreme distances in a day. And I mean extreme, to drive 17, 20 hours, not together, 17 to 20 hours in a day with no measurable break beyond stopping for a piddle, stopping to put fuel in, and usually you would get food at the time you put fuel in. That was it. Now, you know, we were able to do it. There were three of us doing it. We were actually driving tow trucks at the time because we were used to driving at least 12 hours a day in our normal jobs. But for those people who aren't used to driving long distances, it's a recipe for death. And unfortunately, we're employing a whole heap of people, many of whom are coming in from overseas, who are driving our heavy vehicles and not really used to driving 5.5 hours with 100-ton behind them, or 60-ton or 80-ton or whatever it is. And unfortunately, we're seeing a lot more accidents, trucks running off the road, being parked in between the gum trees. And while I know for many drivers it's probably their first experience with our fauna, it's probably one they'll remember for the rest of their lives. And we're out recruiting more of them. Victoria, Queensland, New South Wales have all been in recent times off to China and various other places to help recruit more people to come to the country. This time Western Australia has hit the frog and toad, and where have they gone? Well, of course, they've gone to India. Now, this gets to what Cass was saying before, and we were discussing with the government's budgets and their forward estimates. They have projected earnings based on the people they have coming into the country. And they've projected that every person of a working age that comes into the country is going to generate $1 million in 10 years. Now, I don't know if that means over 10 years leading up to, or in 10 years' time, somehow miraculously these people will have all generated $1 million each, and for whatever reason we'll be giving it to the government. You starting to see that logic? Okay. Right. So they have then put their budgets together and said, well, over the next 5 years, we're going to spend this much. And over the next 10 years, we're going to spend X much. And we're going to pay for it all by keeping the gates open and flooding people in this way. We're going to be trying to educate them. We're going to throw our universities open because our universities are not cheap to get into if you are an overseas student. And that's why it makes it very hard for an Australian student to get into our universities to acquire the appropriate brainwashing to keep going forward in life. I would argue that we needn't bother about it. However, they're going to keep pushing it. So one would hope that, and I think this is not beyond the realms of possibility, that one nation in its new rebranded guise will start looking very closely at these not just the countries where immigration seems to be coming from, but at the mechanisms involved behind it, and the insidious actions that I think, and many others, and I believe that Pauline and Malcolm Roberts and Barnaby Joyce and many more believe the same thing, are the trigger. These things are the trigger for the financial situation that the country finds itself in today. And that can only be laid squarely at the feet of Labor, although they are now claiming, of course, that it was the Liberals' fault, even though we're in the second term. God knows how that happened with Albo Sleazy and his mob. And of course, they're encouraging rampant corporates to rape and pillage the country continually. Let's go out and try and find new and interesting ways to, help the people relieve themselves of their money a little more. And lo and behold, the Commonwealth Bank has come to the party. They're going to announce an Australian banking first by providing personalised carbon footprints for customers based on the spreading the data in a partnership with a fintech startup called Kogo. What are they going to do? Well, initially, this will just be for major corporate partners of the bank, but it will track their spending on their accounts, and then it will allocate a certain amount of carbon credits against their spend, which I assume at some point they will remove the money from the company's accounts to pay for, to give them a zero sum balance when it comes to doing business. If you're doing business creates some sort of a carbon offset, then the bank will look after it, no problems. And that's exactly what they're going to do. The bank is also bragging that while it's not going to do it at the moment, it will be possible for clients of the bank, private, personal clients of the bank, in the future to access their own carbon footprint and have the bank analyze that footprint and do the same thing for them for a fee, of course. Oh, God, folks, it's all coming. And you want to stick your money in one of those institutions? Look, we're in the dip at the moment. I saw one of the comments there before. Silver at the moment running $70.01. Now, for those of you who bought it last week or the week before when it was up as high as 83, don't sweat it, okay? Don't sweat it. Is anybody asking you to run off out and panic sell it right now? Don't do it. Go to ainslieybullion.com.au, click on the Ainsley Insights tag. It's in the news and resources section, and have a read of their assessment of what's going on in the bullion market at the moment. It is very enlightening stuff. Don't even believe Ainsley. Go and pick any other bullion dealer. They're all saying the same thing. In fact, go and listen to some of the analysts from overseas. There is plenty of people talking with much more detailed knowledge and understanding of what is happening and how this is being worked in the COMEX market than I can possibly present you. I urge you to go and check out this information if you are at all worried about your investment having dipped in the last few days. Don't worry about the dip. It is going to bounce, and for a variety of reasons, it is going to bounce. Everybody who knows anything about this is suggesting that it is going to bounce again, and it may well bounce very, very hard again. So please don't be freaking out that you've lost money, because you haven't, unless you've, for whatever reason, had to run out and sell whatever it was you bought a week ago and it's now $13 less than it was an ounce. Well, swings and roundabouts, but please don't sell it. Hang on to it, because you saw how rapidly that price climbed in the last couple of weeks. Please bear in mind that since January, the price has gone up something like 73%. So, there's been all these little peaks and troughs along the way. So don't sweat that. It's all going to be good. Here is something that's been suggested, which, look, a Diwali public holiday to be held in Sydney. Well, more likely Parramatta. Parramatta, did I play the interview here? I'm not sure. There was a very interesting interview with a lady who lives in Parramatta, an Indian lady, and they were speaking about what it's like to live in Australia. And she said, well, I live in Parramatta, so it's like living in India. And she said, it's very much like living in India. She was dead serious. She said, there's no difference. It's just like living in India with a lot of Indians. And I wasn't terribly surprised to hear that. The bit that did surprise me was that she works in India. So we have an Indian lady working for a call center in India, but she lives in Australia. Okay. What do you say? What do you do? It's just a weird set of circumstances. And of course, these enclaves are being built all around our nation. There are other things being built in other nations, drug cartels, human trafficking, slavery networks, the whole deal. And Venezuela has been touted by the Americans, at least, as very much one of those. You might remember that during the great Biden eras, when the southern borders of America were flung wide, Venezuela opened up its prisons and they encouraged, let's say, all of those inside to make a beeline to Mexico and straight into the US. Many of them did. So Venezuela has also recently been discovered as a distribution hub for a lot of the cocaine and whatever other drugs are coming out of places like Colombia, Peru, and that general vicinity of where they make that sort of stuff. Now they have been cutting off and blowing up boats all over the place, which has been rather interesting. But the Americans are now sending a warship into that area. In fact, they're sending 2 warships, one of them being an aircraft carrier. And it's not in place yet, but they have sent the USS Gravely. I would have thought the USS Gravely rusted is what they've sent there. But anyway, the USS Gravely is in Trinidad and Tobago at the moment, tied up until Thursday. But Venezuela today announced that they'd caught 4 mercenaries in Venezuela plotting a false flag attack on that particular boat, which is not good at all. So more news to come on that. And you can hear that dog barking in the background. I've had some people turn up here. I'm looking after a house at the moment. I've got to go and meet these people, so I am going to have to go early. I do apologize. It might means I'll come back again a little later on, but because I do have a bit more I want to tell you, but I've got to look after some friends at the moment because one of them is in hospital. He had a bit of a moment yesterday, so put our prayers together for Keith, please. He, don't know what. We're waiting for an MRI to figure out what's going on there. I will potentially pop back on in maybe a half an hour or an hour or so. Otherwise, there'll be something early tomorrow morning for you. God love you. Be safe on the roads, folks. Talk to you soon. Hooray.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!